The American Psychological Association states that trauma involves exposure to serious events like death, injury, or violence. And if you read or watched content on trauma from other sources, you will probably come across similar examples. And if you pay attention, most of those examples sound relatively extreme. I mean, wars, abuse, accidents, and disasters. But here's the question: does trauma have to be that extreme to be real?
From my personal reflection and perspective, I don't think so. Because if we go back to how the APA phrases, it says it includes those events, which means trauma is not limited to them. So this leaves room for other more personal experiences. Ones that may not look catastrophic on the outside,
But still leave deep psychological wounds and maybe some biological changes in the brain.
for example, let's say someone you deeply trusted betrays you. This is not extreme as the mentioned examples, but it leads to the same results. Trauma changes your narrative. And what is a narrative? It is the inner story you carry about who you are, what you believe, what is possible, and how the world works. And it helps you make sense of the past, navigate the present, and dream about the future. But trauma disrupts that story. After trauma, your brain's ability to construct a flexible view of life becomes limited. Your thinking becomes more rigid and repetitive, often focused around safety, threat, and control.
So, what happens in the brain exactly? Trauma physically rewires your brain. Here is how. First, amygdala goes into overdrive. The amygdala is your brain's danger detector. After trauma, it becomes hyperactive, like a smoke alarm that keeps going off even when there is no fire. As a result, your brain gets stuck in survival mode. You're always on alert, scanning for threats, even in safe or ordinary situations. This creates a narrow view of the world where everything feels dangerous. Second, hippocampus gets weaker. The hippocampus helps you make sense of your experiences, when they happened, where, and how to file them as past events. But trauma can shrink this area and make it less effective. As a result, you might feel like the trauma is still happening, which explains anxiety flashbacks or panic in harmless situations where when they trigger something in you. Third, prefrontal cortex shuts down. The prefrontal cortex is your brain's CEO. In other words, it helps you think clearly, plan, and reflect. So, unconsciously, you start rewriting your life story around fear. For example, you message a friend something vulnerable, okay, and they leave you on read. Your traumatic brain doesn't say maybe they're busy, and instead it jumps to I'm annoying, people always leave me, I shouldn't have opened up, I can't trust anyone. The example I just gave illustrates cognitive distortions. So, today we will discuss what are cognitive distortions and the most common types of them, and explaining why are they distorted. And most important, I will give healthier and more realistic replacements. So, first things first, what are cognitive distortions? They are patterns of unhelpful, irrational, or exaggerated thinking that can distort how we see ourselves, others, or the world. They often show up during stress, anxiety, depression, or after trauma. The common types of them is first all or nothing thinking, okay? It means seeing things in extremes, either perfect or worthless. It is distorted because life is full of gray. Most of us live in the in between, right? So, for example, so if I didn't follow my diet someday, and I say, I'm such a failure, I will never reach my goal, I should just give up. This is, of course, distorted. And a healthier reframe can be, okay, I made a mistake. Let me ask why I did it and what I can do to avoid repeating the mistake. Second is catastrophizing. It is when you exaggerate the worst possible outcome. An example, if I mess up a presentation, I think my boss will think I'm incompetent and I will get fired. It is distorted because, really do events lead to total disaster. And a healthier reframe can be no one is fired by missing a presentation. Third is overgeneralization. For example, if my ex cheated on me, I believe that all men cheat. A healthier reframe is, okay, listen, there are men who cheat and men who do not. And now I have knowledge to differentiate and make a better decision in the future. Fourth is mind reading. It is when you assume you know what others are thinking, and it is distorted because you're not a mind reader, and silence doesn't always mean rejection. It can project actually your insecurity sometimes. So, an example, if my friend hasn't replied to my message yet, I will think, oh my God, I must have annoyed her. I am annoying. I'm always do this. But a healthier reframe will be she might be busy or overwhelmed. I won't assume the worst until I know more.